So apparently we're talking about the end of humanity today, and that is the doomsday clock. Doomsday clock gets closer than ever to midnight, so I guess it's 85 seconds to midnight. And if you're familiar with the saying, it says created to represent the possibility or even likelihood of people doing something to end humanity. Huh. I mean, I guess so. We're talking about end of humanity today, and they mentioned AI, climate change, great power, competition. And I'll be curious to your guys' thoughts on this. Do you think it's the robots that are going to end humanity? Is it going to be Planet of the Apes? Is it going to be, I don't know, the sun's going to blow up? Take your pick. And then are we going to be into basically Mad Max or Waterworld or whatever? But that's what we're talking about today, end of humanity. And when you check the markets, it certainly feels like that. If you're in dollar, US dollar falls again. And this is all related to Trump, as you could probably guess, as debasement fears outweigh Besant's boost. So what our markets are talking about, other than end of humanity, which obviously would end everything, but let's assume that humanity doesn't end and we're still here. Trump does crazy crap, tweets crazy things, gives crazy orders. Markets freak out, everything kind of shifts around, and then Scott Bessent and any of Trump's people try to go on TV and say, hey, everything's fine. We all have this master plan, and he'll cough a bit and stutter and such. According to Bessent, the U.S. always has a strong dollar policy. Oh, wow, I feel better. And then this is coming after comments where Trump's like, oh, I'm fine with the dollar going down. It's good for business. Okay, great. This is actually our news today. Dollar closed to multi-year lows as investors see mounting risks. Gee, what could the risk possibly be other than end of humanity? Dollar remained on shaky ground on Thursday as uncertainty over U.S. economic policies, basically Trump's a moron, and geopolitical moves, again, Trump's a moron. It's like, and then you see the chart, dollar's going down. Everyone's like, all right, you know what? Forget the dollar. Screw USA. I'm going in gold. And you've been seeing like this crazy rally in gold and silver. And I don't know, is this apocalypse kind of stuff that we're talking about? Oil's now going up because we're threatening Iran. So that's $70 a barrel. And we'll see what happens with that. And then you got these like pockets of crashes. And I wish I were making this up. This is Indonesia. Biggest Indonesia stock crash since 1998 spurs promise of reform. Huh. We don't talk about Indonesia that much on the channel, not their market at least. And this is the description of it. And to see if it relates to the U.S. market, just listen to what it says. At the heart of the concern is the low free float of Indonesian equities, okay? With the market's biggest companies thinly traded and controlled by a handful of wealthy individuals, a structure that investors say distorts the index and risks manipulation. Now, the U.S. market may not be necessarily entirely like this, but certainly pockets of the crypto world is like that. And that's something that Trump's been pushing, which is inherently like aimed at weakening the dollar, right? So if you ever wonder if Trump's like interested in weakening the dollar, at least the people around him are like, hey, let's all do crypto and stuff like that. And let's manipulate the markets. And you could argue on a daily basis that's what Trump is up to, which he tweets out like nonstop, which I'll get into in a moment here. He was tweeting up a crazy storm, and it's too many to read. I think it's like, it really is like 50 tweets an hour kind of stuff. So you can't read all of them. It's just too whacked out. So while Trump's like doing his stuff on 3M and on his golden toilet, other countries are building partnerships. So if you're in the UK, this is probably huge news over there. I did see it. It says, she says China weighing visa-free UK access after meeting Starmer. So Starmer's in town, and this is in Beijing. And it's interesting because if you look at this stuff, other than the end of humanity, I know it's hard to get that out of my mind to see the doomsday clock, but I guess the U.S. standing in the UK has been going down. So how they ask the question is, Britain see China as rising friend while U.S. reputation drops. So this is share of UK respondents who see U.S. and China as friendly. So is the USA friendly? If you ask people in the UK back in October of 2025, I guess 70% were saying that. Now in like 2026, this is in the UK, like about half the people are saying that the U.S. is friendly. So that means the other half are saying not friendly. And then China's actually moving up. So before people in the UK were like, I don't know, 20% are saying China's friendly. Now it's getting closer to 30. And we'll see. This is actually an interesting chart to track to see if people start to shift over to like, you know what, China's more friendly than than USA. And you guys over in UK, and it's not just just UK, a lot of countries are doing more and more business with China as you're getting a lot more imports and stuff from them. And if you're on the UK side, Starmer, he's trying to sell whiskey, evidently. I guess that's a big deal for you guys. I'm not making fun of him. I'm just saying whiskey. We don't talk about it that much, actually, on the channel. And I'm not a big whiskey drinker. So if you guys can tell me like which brands are the UK ones. I'm just not a big whiskey drinker there. But visa-free travel is an interesting one with China. So that means you'll get flow of workers, students, and all sorts of business opportunities and such going back and forth between the countries. So stirring kind of stuff. And the thing is, I guess whether or not you can rejoin the EU, who knows? That's for you guys to decide. But certainly you can make other partnerships out there, because if you just look across the pond and you see what Trump's doing on a daily basis, like literally this was the headlines then. Trump 79 unleashes self-soothing conspiracy posting spree. Okay. Trump shares conspiracies on Minneapolis immigration, 2020 election in late night spree. And I think they were doing something where they were raiding an election office. I saw that in the news. It's like, what I'll just say this. We had the situation in Korea. There was a president Yoon. He was just like Trump, just say whacked out crap all the time. He was also involved with cult, and like an actual cult. It's a whole other issue. And I think the cult got charged with bribery, and it was like maybe 1 or 2 years in prison. I saw that recently. That was just out yesterday. And then in Yoon here in Korea, his prime minister got 23 years, I think is what it was, in jail. Yoon's got 5 years in jail so far, but it could go all the way up to life or something like that. There's multiple trials yet for that. Just bringing that stuff up, because when I see the stuff with Trump's going on, it's just like, it's so obvious this guy is completely unfit. Gavin Newsom then is tweeting out about that, saying, in the last 60 minutes, President, talking about Trump, has posted 56 times on Truth Social. Like, it's like nonstop. So he's tweeting about how great the ballroom is, and I think a lot of the stuff is bots. So like some of these accounts, MAGA X Times Daily News is the name of it, and then he's tweeting out about, was this one of the best speeches? Like you're like reliving the past, okay? And that's by the Fan Trump Army. Kind of see what this is going, right? Then he's talking about something to do with Obama, and then he's like tweeting out old videos of himself, and the Value Team, which is like a kind of right-wing YouTube channel, a bunch of grifters over there. He is tweeting about Alex Preddy, because I don't want to hide this. I'll just say there's a video out there. You guys can easily find it. Alex Preddy was kicking a tail light of looks like one of the ICE vehicles, and then they got out of the car, tackled the guy, and they may or may not have hurt a rib of his. That there's some dispute on that, but there is video out there in that, and so they're going to try to make Alex. This is actually a separate incident than when he was killed. So I'm saying it. So then this is part of what the Trump people do, is that they'll put a bunch of incendiary stuff nonstop and just keep you really, really angry all the time. This matters because when you look at who the Trump voters are, they're just like gearing up for war. Trump voters support military intervention in more countries. So basically you fill this people nonstop with fear, right? Be afraid of all your neighbors, and see, we got a strong military, so we don't have to be afraid. Go buy, a million guns or whatever. And this is what it is. A new political poll reveals 65% of Trump voters support the U.S. taking military action against at least one of several potential targets. That could be Iran, Greenland, Cuba, Colombia, China, or Mexico. So there's all these Trump people out there who's like, oh yeah, let's go attack other countries. Fantastic. Yeah. 50% of Trump voters backed military intervention in the country. Most of any foreign target. I think that would be Iran. And we actually have the chart here. So if you ask MAGA people, Trump people, who do you want to attack? Basically, I guess Iran is the winner there. After that is Mexico. Then we're attacking Colombia, Cuba, Nigeria, China, Taiwan, Panama, Greenland, Iceland. And I shouldn't say attack. I should say, this is according to the chart, U.S. should take military action in. Okay, so depending on the country, because the Taiwan, we wouldn't be attacking Taiwan. We'd be defending Taiwan from China. So these are the polling data now. But basically, MAGA people are like, yeah, strong military, lots of guns. Who needs education, right? Screw that. Who needs healthcare? We don't need that. We just need more guns and more prison. And it's so obvious when you look through this stuff. And I think a lot of those MAGA people, they have no concept of like other ways to live, there's more life than guns and prisons. I hate to break it to you guys. There's more life than guns and prisons. Well, I mean, I guess if you want to go down the Trumpy route, you could buy Trump crypto. And so basically that's what it is Trump gets all his followers focused on that kind of stuff, get a bunch of bots retweeting stuff, MAGA X fan account, MAGA Eagle account, right? All that kind of stuff. And then him and his family profit off of crypto and a bunch of laundering. Donald Trump promised to make the U.S. the world's crypto capital. His businesses are seizing on it. Oh, of course they are. And so this is like, again, the beginning we're talking about doomsday clock into humanity. And a lot of it, I had a conversation with a friend the other day, and actually he came on my channel, Kyle, if you guys remember him. We were talking about Tesla because he did a live stream Tesla with me, and he had the conversation of like, because he's a big sci-fi fan like I am, and we both like Star Trek. It's like, are we going to go to the Star Trek future? Or are we going to go over to the idiocracy future? And we're definitely headed towards idiocracy, where things get dumber. And then if you ever see it, we don't talk about idiocracy every time on the channel, but it's just like, because we're living in it right now. It was a documentary basically, but this is the Trump who some people think he's God, essentially. He's the cryptocurrency tycoon now, according to this. Got crypto startups, right? Crypto ventures. He's got meme coins and all kind of stuff. And this is what our whole economy is based on. It's his base, want to go fight everybody, prisons and guns, great. And then his economy is based on crypto, and then he has all these tech CEOs to, build the ballrooms and celebrate AI. That's where all the spending is going. This has been our headlines this last couple of days here. Microsoft's AI spending and disappointing cloud growth overshadow strong profits. But like all the companies are investing heavily in AI, and it's like, where do you think this is heading? The whole thing is designed to replace workers. That's what it's for, right? And some companies are doing better at their spending, I guess, and convincing their investors they're going to be awesome. Meta's record sales boosts shares despite massive spending plans. So what is this? 135 billion in capex. So the capital expenditures, I think that's next year or this year, I should say. I think it was like from 115 to 135. So they upped it by like 20. And then Elon Musk is like, you know what? I'm going to spend a bunch on this stuff. And then OpenAI is out trying to raise money. OpenAI talks to raise 40 billion investments from NVIDIA, Amazon, and Microsoft. So it's this big circular financing, right? That's all it is. They all cycle money around each other, and you give me money, I'll buy your products, then I give you money, and then you buy my products, and so forth. And so it's no wonder to me that when I look through everything, that the doomsday clock is getting closer. Now, whether or not this is the end of humanity, I mean, it depends how you want to define humanity, I guess. Because I think we're definitely down the path of more stupid. And there was something I was thinking about also. If you listen to the Elon Musk earnings call, and we did a live stream, so please listen to that if you can, because it represents the bubble market basically. Because his whole product, he says we're all going to have these cyber taxi things or whatever. But if you think about it, it just basically means, hey, you're all going to be like passive. If you want to use the word lazy, you can. The idea that I'm going to sell you something that has no pedals, no steering wheel, and you're going to rent it from me because he wants to sell you a subscription. He calls it transportation as a service. But that shows you kind of where we're going. You're not going to have a job. You're not going to own anything, and somehow you're going to have money to rent stuff from people. And that's why I mentioned to you guys what happened in Indonesia, to basically, if you only have a few people that control the stuff, it's easy to manipulate it, and then people lose faith in the markets, and you just have like this massive crash. So I do think there are real concerns with that at the end of humanity. That's a different discussion, but when you look at all this stuff, I can see why people are just like, screw that, get out a dollar, sell your bonds, right? I'm just moving into gold. And it's not a good sign. It's funny because it's like, I can't cry every day about this stuff, right? It's not like haha funny, but it's just ludicrous, like how obvious it is when you see this stuff come out. And then it's sad, like people go along with it, I mean, are there all these Americans sitting at home, or MAGA people at home, it's like, you know what? I just really need more data centers and prisons in my backyard. I can't live life without more data centers and prisons. And you know what? How about we send our military and let's go down to Venezuela and go attack Iran. And then you know what? How about I send all my tax dollars to build prisons and crypto and data centers in those countries too. Wow, that's great. and you have to phrase it in this way because like from the Trumpy point of view, that is like, guys, those black and brown people are really bad. We got to get them, right? And they get to focus on that. But if you lay out the whole plan and just talk to your MAGA friends, like, okay, so is that your plan, to spend all our tax dollars in guns and prisons and taking over the countries? You think your life's going to get better that way? And that's why I showed you the Indonesian thing, because it's not going to get better. It's just going to be a few people control everything, and then they dumb everything down, so then most people can't understand this stuff anyway, and then I guess you get caught in this end of the cycle, and it's sad. And so I just try my best to educate you guys. I try to be nice about it. I get more frustrated though when I see these kind of doomsday clock things. Talk about the end of humanity. It's just so crazy. Okay, that's my thoughts on this. Please share yours, and I'll catch you on the next video.